Hello guys, this is InfoRx. We are the tech experts. If you need tech-related information, subscribe our channel and click the bell button. Follow our social media pages. Okay, let's go to the topic. CMF Phone 1 Review Design. Nothing's signature flair. The CMF Phone 1 borrows a page from Nothing's playbook with its innovative and striking design. It moves away from the semi-transparent aesthetic of Nothing phones and adopts a sleek, plain black panel with minimalistic branding on the back. But the design isn't just great to look at, it's also functional. One of the most interesting and cool aspects of the CMF Phone 1 is its removable back panel. Yes, you read that right. Nothing is selling back covers with a small screwdriver, allowing you to unscrew the panel and swap it out for a new one, just like the old times. But this feature isn't just a gimmick. We received different back panels for the phone, and we think it is a genuinely cool and refreshing way to customize your device. It's available in a bunch of different colors: Euro blue, orange, light green, and black Euro, and in both matte and vegan leather finish, each priced at Rs $799. Both the finishes offer a good grip and don't attract fingerprints. I used the jet black cover the most. The device is also IP5 rated, which means it can survive water splashes and won't get damaged during the rainy season. Coming to the most teased wheel on the CMF Phone 1. There have been several guesses, with some thinking it would be a rotary dial for fidgeting, but it actually has a functionality. It is a dual purpose. You can attach a lanyard to it for easy carrying or a small stand for convenient content viewing. For this, you just need to remove the wheel by rotating it 4 to 5 times and fit any one of these accessories in the same space. However, one will have to spend extra to buy these accessories for the CMF Phone 1 because Nothing is not offering them for free. I have been using the stand with the phone. It is made of plastic and has decent build quality. But I was always particular about attaching it carefully to the device because it seems like any extra pressure could damage it. Removing and reattaching the stand can be a bit cumbersome, especially when taking breaks while watching a video. I used the phone with the stand attached for a few days. The stand folds and aligns along the back of the device, which is good. Holding the phone with the stand is comfortable. But here's something to be very careful about: you cannot lose the wheel. Without it, the device won't look good, and if you lose it, you have to either buy a new cover at Rs $799 or use the device with a stand or lanyard permanently. There is also a card case for the CMF Phone, which has to be bought separately. But keep in mind that it stores only 3 cards at a time. All in all, Nothing has done a great job in offering a unique design with good build quality under 20,000 rupees. While the device features a plain back panel, the inclusion of screws, a wheel, and other small elements gives it a unique appearance that lends it its own personality. Display. Broad and vibrant, the CMF Phone 1 has a good display too. It comes with a 6.7-inch AMOLED screen with up to 700 nits of typical brightness and 2000 nits of peak brightness in HDR content. The brightness levels were sufficient to be able to read or check camera samples in sunlight. The display colors are punchy and the tone is also on the warmer side, making the content look pleasing to the eyes. You can change the tone in the display settings, although the default setting already looks great. The panel also has support for up to 120 Hz dynamic refresh rate for smoother animations and scrolling experience. However, it hardly dials down to 60 Hz even when using non-demanding apps like Calendar, Calculator, or WhatsApp. The same is also the case when the device is sitting idle. The 120 Hz refresh rate doesn't hamper the experience and offers a smooth performance, but this could impact battery life to some extent. The screen has Corning Gorilla Glass 5 protection as well, something fewer to OK phones offer. The CMF Phone 1 has a broad form factor, so people get a spacious canvas for content consumption, making it a delight for binge watching or gaming. However, the large size could be a double-edged sword. While it offers a great viewing experience, it might feel unwieldy for users with smaller hands. Despite this, the phone remains lightweight and relatively comfortable to carry. Solid performance. The CMF Phone 1 is powered by a MediaTek Dimensity 730 5G chipset, which is a slightly superior chip than what other phones under RS20,000 are offering. This is quite evident in our AnTuTu and Geekbench tests. The device managed to score 653,782 on AnTuTu, which is higher than popular devices such as iQOO-Z9 and Poco X6. Similar is also the case with Geekbench results, with the CMF Phone 1 scoring 1022 in the single-core test and 2,975 in the multi-core test. Talking about real-world performance, I played games like Genshin Impact and Call of Duty COD. The graphics setting was by default set to lowest on the first one and high on the second one. Genshin Impact is a very demanding game, so the setting is set to lower, something that is understandable because even the flagship Android phones are able to play it at only medium settings. In its price range, the device offered a smooth gaming experience at the default settings, without any frame drops or lag. As for the general tasks, I had no issues while multitasking, launching apps, or generally using the device. The device gets a little warm after playing games for 1.5 hours. It doesn't lag, but the camera app sometimes slows down when using the device out in the heat. The app takes 5 to 10 seconds in post-processing. This can also be a bug which a software update can easily fix. Talking about real-world performance, I played games like Genshin Impact and Call of Duty COD. The graphics setting was by default set to lowest on the first one and high on the second one. Genshin Impact is a very demanding game, so the setting is set to lower, something that is understandable because even the flagship Android phones are able to play it at only medium settings. In its price range, the device offered a smooth gaming experience at the default settings without any frame drops or lag. As for the general tasks, I had no issues while multitasking, launching apps, or generally using the device. The device gets a little warm after playing games for 1.5 hours. It doesn't lag, but the camera app sometimes slows down when using the device out in the heat. The app takes 5 to 10 seconds in post-processing. This can also be a bug which a software update can easily fix. The CMF Phone 1 features a mono speaker, which raises questions about why the company opted against stereo speakers. While the single speaker sounds loud and clear with sufficient depth, stereo speakers would have provided a slightly better listening experience with a richer sound mix. As for biometrics, while it may not be the fastest on the market, it is quick enough to unlock the phone. The company is promising 2 years of Android OS upgrades, which means that the CMF Phone will receive Android 15 as well as Android 16 OS when their stable versions are released. Speaking of which, Nothing OS is well polished and very minimalistic. There is no bloatware, and I liked that Nothing gives you an option to choose whether you want to use Nothing OS or experience stock Android OS. There are essential features as well, including App Locker and cloned apps. The UI is clean with no extra set of native apps that are not required on the smartphone. The settings are simple to understand and not cluttered. Overall, people will likely love using the CMF Phone 1 with the Nothing OS. The device is equipped with a standard 5000 mAh battery and supports 3.3W fast charging. The battery life is commendable, thanks to its well-optimized software. The absence of unnecessary animations, a minimalist UI with a lightweight user interface, and useful features contribute to this. Even after using a bit of Instagram, WhatsApp, and the camera app for a total of 4 hours, the battery only dropped by 10%, which is impressive. It can easily survive a day on a single charge without any issues. With 1 hour of gaming added to it, the battery drops at a faster rate. The only downside is that the device doesn't ship with a fast charger and people will have to spend extra in buying one, or choose to use an old charger. Good camera performance. The CMF Phone 1 has a dual rear camera setup, including a 50-megapixel primary sensor. It is good at capturing daylight shots. The colors are natural and rich. The daylight shots had a balanced dynamic range. The exposure levels and shadows are well captured, something that is noticeable in the foreground. In good lighting conditions, the device is able to offer cinematic shots with dramatic skies and popping hues. There is a very minor difference in terms of details when compared with 12MP and 50MP photo modes. The higher resolution mode offers slightly better details, but when you closely inspect the images, it is noticeable that the details are soft and not very clear. This is understandable because CMF Phone 1 is a budget device and one of the few phones that offer attractive camera shots under 20,000 rupees. The portrait shots are well rendered, especially those taken closer to the subject, which offer a pleasing depth of field. The device effectively applies a significant amount of blur to both non-human and human subjects, which shows its solid edge detection capability. However, it occasionally struggles to achieve consistent blur in wider shots of human subjects, leaving some parts unblurred, although this is rare. Also, colors are vibrant, skin tones are accurate, textures of clothing are well captured, and there is enough detail in the images. The same is also the case with selfies. Starting with the display, the CMF Phone 1 has a 6.67-inch Full HD Plus rigid OLED display with a pixel resolution of 2400 by 1080 pixels, 20:9 aspect ratio, and a pixel density of about 395 ppi. The display is bright, thanks to 700 nits typical and 2000 nits peak brightness, which is enabled when you are watching HDR content. The phone has a 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate. Display can switch between 60 Hz and 120 Hz. It has 240 Hz touch sampling rate. When enabled, it offers a buttery smooth user experience, especially when you are scrolling through the UI and when gaming. It also has HDR10+ support, which works for YouTube. Under the display options, there are different options to adjust colors based on your preference. There is also a night light option that lets you reduce the display's blue light emission so it doesn't cause eye strain when you are reading at night. There is dark mode similar to other Android phones. It has an always-on display option, but it doesn't offer a lot of customization and is similar to the Pixel. It doesn't have an EMC or DC dimming option, but the company says that it has 960 Hz PWM dimming. The company doesn't reveal which glass it uses. The phone has a tiny center punch hole that houses a 16-megapixel camera above the display. There is an earpiece on the top edge, but it doesn't act as a secondary speaker. The phone has an optical in-display fingerprint scanner. There is a small bezel below the display, but it is not uniform to the sides and the top, unlike the Nothing phones. Coming to the button placements, the power button is present on the right side and the volume rockers are on the left side. The hybrid dual SIM slot, primary microphone, USB Type-C port, and the loudspeaker grill are on the bottom. The secondary microphone is on the top. The sides have a plastic finish. The phone has a removable plastic back which can be removed by removing four screws. It takes a few minutes to remove it. The back in the black and light green colors have a smooth matte finish. This is how the back looks when you remove the back cover, since the back cover has the side buttons as well. Due to the removable back cover, it only has IP52 ratings. Back in the blue and orange colors have a vegan leather finish, so it is thicker at 9mm and weighs 100 grams compared to the 8mm thickness and 197 grams weight in the standard model. If you don't want to get the color model, the back covers that include the accessory point in the matching color and the matching SIM tray is available separately for Rs. $14.99. This is a good idea if you are ready to spend more. 50MP main camera with f1.8 aperture, 1.95 Sony IMX88 to sensor to MP portrait camera with SmartSens SC to O to sensor. f2.4 aperture 16MP front camera with Galaxy Core GC16B3 sensor f2.0 aperture. The camera UI is similar to phones running Nothing OS 2.5 or above. There are options for slow-mo, video, photo, portrait, and more option that has time-lapse, pano, and expert mode. The expert mode is Pro mode, which lets you adjust white balance, focus, shutter speed 1/8000 to 30 seconds, and ISO 100 to 6400. It doesn't have RAW option. Coming to the image quality. Daylight shots came out well with good dynamic range and the images are natural looking. After pixel binning technology, you get 12.5MP output HDR. Shots are better with improved dynamic range. There is no ultra-wide camera. The 16MP front camera is decent in daylight and you get full 16MP output. Edge detection in portrait is good, thanks to the secondary camera. Low light camera performance is average and the auto night mode helps to keep the noise low, but you can't expect much in the price range. It can record videos at 4000 resolution at 30 FPS from the rear camera and the front camera has 1080p 60 FPS video recording. It doesn't have OIS and EIS is manageable, but it brings down the resolution to 1080p. The front camera video quality takes a hit with bright background since it is completely blown out. Software, UI, and apps. The CMF Phone 1 runs Android 14 out of the box with Nothing OS 2.6 on top. It has May 2024 Android security patch. The company has promised 2 Android OS updates and 3 years of security patches, which is less compared to Nothing Phone. Apart from the fonts and UI, it gives a stock Android experience without any bloatware. Nothing OS 2.0 brought customized grid design, widget size, and color themes and has new folder layouts and illustrated covers. The Nothing OS 2.6 refines them. There are 30 widgets and the community headlines widget and date widget are new. Out of 8 GB LPDDR for XRAM, you get 7.4 GB of usable RAM and about 3 GB of RAM is free when default apps are running in the background. It has up to 8 GB of virtual RAM. Out of 128 GB, you get about 107 GB of free storage. Some countries have a 256 GB version, which might launch in India later. Since this has a hybrid SIM slot, you can use the secondary SIM slot as a microSD slot, and it accepts cards up to 2 TB. It has UFS 2.2 storage, which is common in the phones in the price range. Apart from the Google apps, it doesn't have any third-party apps. Fingerprint sensor and face unlock. The phone has an in-display optical fingerprint sensor, which immediately unlocks the phone just by keeping your finger on the sensor. You don't get any animation options. The phone also has face unlock that can unlock the phone in seconds, but it is not as secure as fingerprint. Music player and multimedia. YouTube Music is the default music player. It doesn't have Dolby Atmos or any other custom audio features. Audio through the mono speaker is decent but not loud. Audio through the headphones is good as well. This has Widevine L1 so that you can play HD content on Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, and other streaming apps. These HDR playback on YouTube, but not on Netflix. Dual SIM and connectivity. It has the usual set of connectivity features such as 5G with support for N1, N3, N5, N8, N28. N38, N40, N41, N77, N78 bands, dual for G-Volt. Wi-Fi 6 800 2.11 AX 2.4 plus 5 GHz, Bluetooth 5.3. GPS AL plus GLONASS but lacks NFC support. The phone also has carrier aggregation. We did not face any call drops and the earpiece volume is good, even though it is present on the top edge. The CMF Phone 1's body SAR is 1.17 West LKG and head SAR is at 1.19 LKG, which higher than some mid-range phones, however it well under the limit in India, which is 1.6 W per kilogram over 1 gram. Performance and benchmarks. This is the first phone to use a Dimensity 7300 SOS in India. The successor of the Dimensity 7050 SOS has for X-ARM Cortex-A78 cores at up to 2.5 GHz paired with 4 X-ARM Cortex-A55 cores. Compared to 6 nanometers process in the Dimensity 7050, this uses TSMC's 4 nanometers process, offering up to 25% lower power consumption compared to the predecessor. The phone has vapor chamber liquid cooling, but the company doesn't reveal the size. The new ARM Mali G615 GPU is decent for normal games, but it can handle high-end games. For the price, this is fine since most phones only have Dimensity 6000 series and Snapdragon 6 series. Battery life. Coming to the battery life, the phone packs a 5000 mAh typical built-in battery, same as the Nothing Phone 2A. Thanks to the optimization, it lasts for a day even with heavy use on 5G. With minimal use on Wi-Fi, it should last for 2 days. I got 6 to 7 hours of screen on time with over a day of use with mixed use of mostly Wi-Fi and occasional 5G use in 120 Hz. This is similar to Nothing Phone 2A. With 3.3W fast charging, it can charge from 0 to 50% in about 20 minutes and up to 100% in over an hour with the official 33W fast charger. It doesn't have wireless charging speakers and vibration. When I mentioned that I enjoyed watching content, I used earbuds because the phone only has a single speaker. It gets loud enough for phone rings, alarms, and notifications, but it hampers the experience when you're watching something. I know I said this device invokes nostalgia, but this is one aspect of phones I'd like to keep in the past. The vibration motor is another part where cost cutting was done. The haptics feel harsh, cheap, and the motor has a buzzing effect that doesn't feel nice at all. Since Nothing OS also does not take much advantage of haptics, I preferred to have them turned off. CMF Phone 1 software experience. The CMF Phone 1 runs on Nothing OS 2.6 based on Android 14. If you have tried a Nothing Phone before, then you are getting the complete software package. Like the name of the company, nothing is left out just because it is a budget smartphone, which is something that other brands practice. Looking at you, Xiaomi. The only thing it misses out on is always on display, which is replaced by a glance feature. It stays up for 10 seconds, similar to how Xiaomi and Poco do their so-called out. I don't mind it that much, didn't even have it on till someone pointed it to me. The animations are fluid, it sticks to the stock Android look with Nothing's flair on top of it. Nothing OS 2.6 also features some new additions such as a game mode and an AI Vivid mode in the camera app. There is virtually no bloatware on the phone, not even Netflix, which is why the app does not support HDR even though the display does. The lightweight OS also doesn't overwork the processor, so you don't see any hiccups in day-to-day usage. In terms of updates, the company guarantees 2 years of Android updates, so the phone will go up to Android 16. Given the Nothing's track record, you are in good hands in terms of updates. This is most definitely the biggest highlight of the phone. Performance and benchmarks. As an enthusiast's brand, Nothing and CMF know that specifications are usually the first thing their audience considers when buying a phone. In competitive markets like India, this becomes a major factor as brands literally have benchmark scores on the promotional banners. That's how much we Indians love math and numbers. Thankfully, CMF didn't cheap out much in the specs department, as the CMF Phone 1 is the first device with the MediaTek Dimensity 7300 chipset. You can check out the benchmark in the linked article, but the gist is that it is an improvement over the Dimensity 7050. Also, check out the comparison. Between Dimensity 7300 versus Dimensity 7050, note the chipset may be named Dimensity 7300, but it is not as powerful as the Dimensity 7200 Pro on the Nothing phone to a review. We have a detailed comparison between the Dimensity 7300 versus Dimensity 7200. I know it's confusing, so let's jump into benchmarks and real-world usage. Benchmarks. During this review, I ran all the necessary benchmarks on the CMF Phone 1, ranging from Antutu, Geekbench 6 CPU throttling, and 3D Mark to push the phone to its limits. Here are the results for your convenience, but I suggest checking out our dedicated Dimensity 7300 benchmark guide for a closer look at the numbers and findings. Day-to-day usage. As I said in the software part, the normal usage is good. The phone runs well and I didn't face any slowdowns or lags in my time. But it is not snappy and the app opening speeds are a tad slow, but you can't expect it to perform like a flagship now. Gaming. Even though this is not a gaming phone, I had to find a reason to slack off from work, so I played all my favorite games on the CMF Phone 1. I have laid out the games, the settings, and the max FPS the phone was able to play them on in the table below. Camera and video quality. The phone only has a single 50MP primary Sony IMX880 to sensor and no OIS. The other camera is solidly a depth sensor. I would have at least wanted an 8MP ultrawide lens. The front has a single 16MP shooter for selfies. Without further blabbering, here are the camera results. Daytime photos. The 50MP Sony sensor clicks good photos when ample light is available. The color tone is consistent and natural looking for the most part, as some photos have saturated colors. The details are good, even in cloudy situations when there isn't enough sunlight, but zooming in will break the illusion as it loses details in some objects. A modest camera setup. If you were still wondering about the CMF Phone 1 stranding in the Nothing lineup, its camera setup might offer some clues. While the marketing materials say that the device has a flagship-grade main camera, there is essentially just one camera on the rear. The main camera uses the fairly popular Sony IMX880 to sensor, which is not exactly what we would call flagship grade, but we suppose that could be said through some metrics. It is a 1.95 sensor with 0.8 micrometers individual pixels. It sits behind an f1.8 lens with nothing to fancy like OIS or advanced autofocus. Having said that, both the main and selfie cameras on the CMF Phone 1 have something called a true lens engine. It includes Ultra XDR, AI Vivid Mode, Night Mode, Portrait Optimizer, and Motion Capture. The AI Vivid Mode claims to create a true-to-life image with extra vivid hues and high contrast. Ultra XDR is a Google-backed technology for HDR photography and a supported opt-in feature on the CMF Phone 1. The default camera app is close to what you'd find across the latest Realm and OnePlus smartphones. Swiping on the viewfinder or the scroller below switches between modes, while the additional ones can be found under the More submenu. Flash and timer are available on the opposite of the viewfinder side, but you can expand more settings like resolution 1 to MP, 50MP, aspect, ratio, live photo, and advanced settings. Expert mode is available. It only works on the main camera, though the shutter speed can go as low as 30 seconds. RAW capturing is available too. Daylight photo quality. Main camera. The main camera on the CMF Phone 1 captures solid daylight photos with its main camera. These come out with a 12.5 band resolution by default. Colors look pretty nice and natural. The contrast looks good, and so does dynamic range. The detail rendition looks really good too. However, the photos are not very sharp upon close inspection. The main camera handles human subjects quite well. Skin tones look great, and some skin texture is coming through. Portrait shots are quite decent, too. For some reason, the subject looks sharper than on the regular photos. The subject detection and separation algorithm occasionally slips up, but nothing too dramatic. The quality of the background blur is excellent, and finally that it then adds in support for modular accessories and cases while keeping the price as low as it has shows how far nothing has come in a very short space of time. If you're on a modest budget but don't want a subpar user experience, this should absolutely be your first port of call. Got a bit more money to spend, though. There are rivals that only cost slightly more but promise an extra year of software support, meaning you can go longer until your next upgrade. Thanks for watching this video. For more information, touch with us.